Great. Let's go. Hey. Onegaishimasu.
Yes. Onegaishimasu.
All right. Let's just release it up. Let the feet find the go around. Gates go front and back, reaching the arm up, going forward and backwards. Taking the arm back to the side, open up the sidelines. And take into a rotation, letting the arms loose around the body. And taking it to open close movements. And simply mixing directions, just moving freely. Okay, just take it straight as the shoulders, opening them out. Nice big circle. And just really bring the elbows into it. The hands come across the face. And open up nice big circles. And reverse it, rolling the shoulders forwards. And open up the elbows. And open up big circles. And alternating the shoulders to the hips. And moving the arms into a figure of 8. And just open up to the front, open to the side. Gentle tap on the shoulder as you come across the front. Yeah, and circling hips. And the other way. Legs out wide, take the legs out to the side. And stick it into the middle, using the hands in the ground. Just rocking the hips a little bit. And then just taking the ankles here, just add a little bit of pressure out with the arms. And then from here, just keeping one hand on the ankle, just reaching. Start with the elbow, just reach in the elbow up to the ceiling, and then point the elbow down to the ground. Reach the elbow to the ceiling, then down to the ground. And then from there, reaching the hand up, reach the hand right up if you can. Bring it back down, point the elbow to the ground. Reach the hand up, bring it back down. Good, and switch sides. Just starting with the elbow, open that space up. And then reaching with the hand. Just coming up a little bit higher, finding the knees, starting, pressing the shoulder, pressing the knee away, looking at the shoulder. Great. And then play this one, it's a little bit more dynamic. Think about pressing one shoulder down and then rolling underneath with it. And then you just transfer to the other side, draw the body back up, and then go the other way with the circle. So press one shoulder, roll the head through, come up the other side, find the center, and then go the other way again. We've done it that way. You swap the legs out a little bit wider. Still got a little bit of bend in the knee, just reaching the hand down one side. Just towards the foot. You don't have to reach it. You're not really engaging the hip to reach down. And bring both hands down to the center. Take a little bit more of the bend out of the knee. Bring the hips back a little bit. Good. And just play with walking out with the hands. Walk out fully and then just walk them back. Walk out a little bit. Walk them back. Keeping the hips back all the time. And then just find both ankles. Let the head start to come down towards the ground. Take a couple of deep breaths. That feels okay. Bringing the hands around the back, link them together. Start to draw them up over the top of the head. Yeah, open up the shoulders and the hips. Nice and slowly bring the hands back down. Walk them out. Bring the feet together at the back. Get the weight even in the hands and feet. Just pressing out through the heel. And then just shift it a little bit more to one side. So you press one heel down, reach that side of the body down a little bit further towards the ground. Open up into the shoulder as well. And then just lengthen into the whole body. Pressing the heels towards the ground. You don't have to reach the floor. Press the hands into the ground. Draw the hips up. Okay, bring the hands to the feet. Just take it to a forward fold. Let the head and the neck relax. And nice and slowly come back to standing. Take your time. Right. Just get the legs a little bit. Do a little bit for the wrists, rolling them out. Keeping the elbows tight to the body. And the other way. And pressing the palms together nice and strong. Bit of extension out the elbows. Release it. Squeeze, extend. Release it. Squeeze and extend. Great. Taking the fingers, palm out, fingers down. Again, taking the extension out to the elbow. Change. Taking the fingers up, palm out. And change. Making a very light fist, just drawing it back towards the armpit. Again, take lengthen through the arm, through the elbow. Change. Good. Just taking a little 𝘵𝘢𝘐 work, just pulsing into it. Nice strong grip. Keeping the same hand going into 𝘭𝘪𝘢𝘵. And keeping the same hand, taking the fingers into a grip. Good. And switching over to the 𝘵𝘢𝘐 on the other hand. Same hand into 𝘭𝘪𝘢𝘵. And same hand taking the fingers into a center. And then the tricky one, just going into a 𝘭𝘰𝘦𝘦𝘥. First one, just take the hand across. Find the hand however you can. Just start with the lengthened arm. So, good. So you need to take it from the top. You can, if you're careful with this, you can also kind of take the thumb. I wouldn't, don't put too much pressure there, but if you can also take the thumb. Yeah, just first, just lengthen through. Just feel the shoulders still got a little bit of release in it. So the wrist is starting to get locked, the elbow is starting to get locked. Feel that the elbow, feel that the shoulder, in this position, is still able to kind of mobilize a little bit. And then if you think about pointing the elbow up with this arm, this way, and that's going to start to lock the joint, and it's going to start to take the shoulder into a tight position, and then just think about the whole body, spine's going to start to go with it a little bit. And just kind of pulse in and out a little bit. The key for a good, if you look at a really good 𝘭𝘰𝑦𝑜 with this position is very easy to make the 𝘭𝘰𝑦𝑜. You basically just apply the force straight into it. To control someone with it, you really need to get the elbow starting to come up and taking the mobility out of the shoulder in that position here. And then you're really starting to control the spine. A nice stretch to do. Okay, do it. And then just nice and slowly release it. Just roll the shoulder out a little bit. Good. And then just taking it to the side, so just kind of wrapping the arm up. Just first starting with that. Feel that again, the wrist gets locked in that position. The elbow starting to get locked. Feel that the shoulder's still able to kind of mobilize. Good. That's it. Good, 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 good. And again, just think about starting to get the elbow up. And really think about taking the space out of the shoulder a little bit in this position. Once it gets to that kind of position with the elbow up, that's when the shoulder starts to go. And that's when I need to really start to mobilize the body in the form. Feel that. Once you can get there, and then you just release it out, roll the shoulder out a little bit. And then just finding the feet, just work up, just release out the hands. A little bit extending away, a little bit down. Just release the wrists, release the fingers, release the thumb. Here. Great. With a little bit of striking, just start to make a kind of light fist with it. So keep that same kind of feeling with it. Kind of really just loosen the joint out a little bit first. A bit of pressure out. Just quite a light fist, just nothing to form. Kind of a heavy hand.
Just explore different positions. Good. And just start to slowly increase the kind of tension in the fist. You're starting to really close the fist. Make it very tight as you can. And again, just checking on the mobility of the shoulder. You start to feel this whole area starts to become tight, quite full, quite heavy. And just feel you can press the fist out. Good. And now you're doing it, just start to really connect the hip into it. So the easiest way is just shoulder width. Just think about the hip and the exploration. The easiest way, if you think about any kind of karate style where they're really starting in these kind of positions, this is a great position to train the hip to basically engage the fist into it and engage the elbow into it. So play with that where you're kind of in contact and just kind of rolling a track through. So the easiest path in a way to start with is if you're looking for the kind of fist, elbow, hip connection, is just to kind of run a track through this way. So just kind of roll it up this way. And that you don't even really need to engage the hip in terms of doing something like this kind of movement. And actually it's better sometimes that you don't. If you think about the hip just being stable. And then if you feel this movement, that the feelings actually are kind of, whenever we do kind of ski work, like we'll do with the Joe next, that sense of a kind of arc from below. And if I lose that arc from below, it starts to go up into this position. So think it's a little bit like a kind of gunslinger, kind of this kind of shooting from the hip. So something drops down to achieve the kind of movement. Just mixing both sides a little bit. If you start, the easiest one to start with, it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of more of a Chinese striking style. Fist kind of down or thumb up that way. That's so nice. Good. And the aim then is really to get the hip, feeling that the hip's actually really engaging, even when it's not really mobilizing totally. But that the hip's really behind the strike, like kind of squeezing the fist away from the body. That's great. Good. Good. And then just take that same style, more going into a kind of more of a karate style. So you're starting to kind of twist, roll the fist into it. Especially for us as a nice one, if you think about the forearm rotation, the big problem with this strike for most of us is it starts to do this, that the elbow starts to point it up and it starts to pull the shoulder out of structure and then end up doing something like this. So think about, again, that same kind of track here, and then you're just going to add in a little bit of a rotation. But the key is that the feeling in the elbow kind of hangs down. So just think as you're doing this, there's really, in a way, there's a few ways you can hold the arm or in structure. The first one is like doing this, kind of holding the arm up, something like this. The first is starting to get into the arm. You feel like you're inside the structure. The one you really want to get towards is where you feel that the weight is actually really hanging off the arm. So the third one actually feels a little bit lighter in terms of power. It doesn't feel strong kind of tension. Actually, it's much more mobile, much more powerful in terms of weight. You can get the whole body behind it. That's just fixing both sides a little bit. Yeah, make sure the hip's really engaging into it. So every movement of the hand should have a movement of the hip. Great. Good. Good. And then from that, just start to walk it into more of a hook. So if you think about, again, start with the hip and just starting to walk away this way. Again, the first few of this, just think about really engaging this side of the body. So if you think about a little bit robotically, but if I think about the hip, the back foot, the shoulder, the hand, all just basically engaging together. So you don't even need to mobilize anything in terms of spirals or anything like that. To make this strong, you can just really lock the body as one piece and just basically hinge the body into it this way. So that's the first step I would do in terms of going into a more of a hooking punch. And if you think about this, there's a lot of relationship later to things we do like 𝘭𝘭𝘦𝘭𝘭. And the first thing is again, just kind of getting the whole body to move as one piece. And if you think of the body like a kind of hinge joint, the side that's not engaging in the strike is basically a hinge. And you're just going to kind of open the door in this case from the other side. And just mixing both sides a little bit. If you feel the ankle and the foot start to go, just also give yourself a little bit of freedom to let the foot come out of it. Let the foot mobilize as well with it. And that whole chain of the body's engaging into it. Boom. Great. So that's nice. Good. Yeah, also think about the vector of the strike in this case. The strike's actually going to be delivered this way. So if you think where the hook punch, where I will lose the hook punch in a way, so if I do this kind of movement now. So it'd be okay if I kind of go for a specific target, but think about this really going in this way, this side this way, so that the strike's actually connecting to the side and then going through this way. So jaw's a good target for this. The side of the head's a good target. Jaw's the best target for this because that's just where the body's naturally kind of weak, really perfect sweet spot for the strike actually. That's good. Good. And we just look at the third one. We'll look at a kind of back fist going into a rear end. So just play with the first few, just getting kind of a light movement of it. But notice this is actually a really complex one. This is a very difficult one to kind of lock the body in place and kind of perform it. Yeah, because the body gets really locked into this. So this is a really perfect one to go into more of a whipping quality of the body. But then because the body's doing almost two separate things, there's a kind of twist, there's a release out the back, the tendency is to really kind of split the body, or to brace it and basically lock the potential strike. So yeah, good. And there's another really great part of this strike. Think about the strike out. The fist is very full, and then as you release it, it can really loosen. Yeah, so it's just a nice kind of quality to play with. If I go into kind of this, what it does is locks the joint up again. So it gets specifically for Aikido, what you're looking for is basically to find the strike and then make the hand useful. Like in terms of us, we're making the hand useful to be able to grab usually. And if I kind of tighten the fist, it's not really useful anymore. Useful to continue striking, but not so useful to be able to kind of use it and continue into something else. And for us, generally, we're into striking work, so into grappling work. So it's just a nice quality to kind of try a nice full strike, strong fist, and then let it kind of release out back to the body. It's kind of feeling. And you really also, it also matches this kind of whip-like kind of quality of the movement. This kind of feeling. And then next, just play with the feet. So mixing those three, which is basically straight punch, which can also change to the rotation one. More of a hook kind of punch, and then also the kind of back fist with it. Just explore the space a little bit. So easier, I find it much easier to work with targets, but just kind of move through the space a little bit. Explore your options basically with the feet. So you've got 2 feet, 2 hands. Just explore all the possibilities with it. You can kind of add combinations. You can do one strike and stop. One strike and stop. What? Don't hit anything. Oh, shit. Oh, unless you can hit things. Yeah, great. Then really hit it. Good, Kev. Good. Yeah, good. Great. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So there's also there's a kind of distinction also between attacking with a strike. So I've got a target, I'm using the strike to attack them, and also using the strike kind of embedded within movement. So it is more kind of a line. Obviously, you need both, and especially for Aikido training, we need to train more of the kind of striking attacks as well when we do deal with them. But think about how you're kind of utilizing within the techniques that we look at. The generally going to be involving rotation work, so revolving in and kind of delivering the strike in that motion. You can do the same thing kind of with a step, but think about the kind of, again, the application of it in the case that I'm looking to blend in and apply the strike with it. Really the same stuff we do with the weapon work. It's the difference between going in and striking and actually receiving. and applying the weight to the body. So different emphasis in the movement, same structure behind the same logic and structure behind the strikes, but it's just going to mean there's a little bit more emphasis on the quality of the movement, and the bodywork takes priority, and the strike is delivered within the bodywork. There's really kind of classic examples. If you think about Kotegaeshi as a really easy one to look at, there's two very obvious strikes within that movement. These kind of positions. There's a ton of them actually. And it's interesting, lots of the atemi work was kind of taken out of the basic techniques because they interfere with the bodywork. And if your focus is on bodywork, strikes have a tendency to really create problems within movement. But if you know how to strike and you know how to move, you can bring them together pretty easily. Yeah, and the other what we can do is 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘦. Also play a little bit if you want with a bit of 𝘥𝘢𝘦 work. So that's a very intuitive one to start to work with movement. And again, working with more of a kind of defensive, not defensive, but really blending in, applying within movement. Good. Oh, good. Grab a joke. We will do so. I've not done a lot of jokes recently, a lot of sorts. So we'll just do a little bit of basic work. Think about the same kind of structure or same kind of logic with this. Think about having the first thing really strong grip at the back. So really kind of tighten that grip, make sure it's very secure. And then just feel that again that the forearm, the elbow, and the shoulder can just kind of free with it. Play with the feet a little bit, kind of moving around with it. You can kind of stay on the spot, but just check that mobility. There's a slight, if you go to the ski, there's a very slight release, but I really want to be finding that grip again. So especially as the hand starts to pass the line of the hip, you're going to start to be really connecting in this way. There's a nice kind of connection that can be made through the jaw with that strong grab. And again, don't really want to lose much of the mobility in the wrist. So if I grab in a way where I'm kind of in this way, then I start to block the wrist. So just the first check is strong grip. Just feel that the wrist can really mobilize. And then just feel again that the elbow is really driven by the hip. And then the shoulders just free up so that it can just apply that. It can just allow that movement to happen. Just play a little bit with both sides, switching left side. Again, find a nice strong grip. Once you feel that strong grip, just start to explore a little bit more movement with it. Good. 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 And then just play with the kind of bringing the hands together. So think about as you come through, just working with the basic ski work, and then just the right time where the front hand starts to just catch into it. As you do, just give yourself a little bit of time, just check in with the joint system as you do it. Notice, especially in this case, something like this that starts to happen, starting to kind of kink the wrist at the back. So think about really a kind of continuous line from the elbow down the forearm through the wrist, through the grip. And that's the same also on the front hand as well. So just be careful of, there's a couple of positions I can get into. One is like too far over the top, which is going to really pull the shoulder out. and too far below, which is going to again kind of destroy the structure or the ability to apply weight through that shoulder. So just think about being more on top of it. And the check-in for that grip is again, that I'm just in that position. The shoulder can release down, the elbow's free to explore. That's good. That's nice. Okay. And then we just play a little bit with the kind of mobilizing it. Think about a very strong ski in. So strong, everything becomes kind of like a tight kind of quality. And then just think about kind of releasing it. Don't think too much about the movement, but just think about really strongly into the ground and then really just able to mobilize it. So as much as I want to kind of ground strongly into the ground here, I want to feel like I'm in a movement where I can just kind of draw the body into another space. The easiest position to work with, if you think about the basics that we do, like 𝘮𝘠𝘦𝘥, is to really kind of pull the body back. And there's a kind of a reason why we kind of do that, because the movement's very obvious in terms of being strong in a position and then just being able to mobilize the body. So strong into position and then really contrasted with the ability of the body just to move. And in this case, just kind of pulling the body back a little bit. Strong, full grounded strike, and then boom, just move the body back. Yeah. Yes, the problem is like it's either gradual or it's kind of sudden and all at the same time. So notice this, something tends to happen like this. I go here, and then there's like a gradual release, and then the body goes. And so try and make it in a way more so it doesn't have to be fast, but think about it being sudden. And the body just goes. Yeah, so the grip, the body, everything goes. Releases at the same time. It's the same with the kind of work, everything releases. So destroy everything releases rather than, and then it pulls back. Yeah, so think about something which is very, very direct. In order to get that, actually, what's going to release is kind of the core of the body. So the inside of the body is going to kind of release and create the outside to release. So if I release the outside first, the core's still stuck, and then everything kind of goes piecemeal. So think about what I need to do to basically make the whole body go in. And it's this, what tends to be easy is actually going into that state. Coming out, so it tends to be the whole bit. But it's the same, it's just in reverse. The way you go into it, it's the way you get out of it. You just go out of it that way. That's it. And then just play with another mobilization. We won't go into the second technique yet. Think about the strike getting strong, and then think about just mobilizing in here. It's just going to move the body into it in this case. You can do this both sides. Then don't worry too much about the technique, but think about strongly in the ground, and then just the ability to mobilize. So in this case, rather than pulling back, you're just going to kind of move forward. So this, and just this. And don't worry too much about the jaw, but just that feeling you're strongly grounded, strongly in the ground here, and then strong. And then you just release it. And you're just looking to mobilize the whole structure. Just making a really clear contrast between the fullness of the ski work, strike strongly, and then really mobile into the next move. That's it. That's it. Great. Hold. Nice. Great, and then just mixing these two directions, so forward, backward. I stole this from Philippe on the seminar. So just look at finding the middle of the jaw in this case. So we'll mix in both the movements. So if you think about the second one going to 𝘮𝘠𝘦𝘥, and I'm just going to really let the body find the middle point of the jaw. Or if you think about going forward, you're going more into 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘢𝘪𝘁. And again, just find the middle part of the 𝗏 as you do it. So what you're trying to do is, again, mobilize the whole structure and really put the 𝗏 in a position where I'm able to really mobilize through it. So more of a kind of sensitivity than anything in terms of the handwork on the 𝗏. But again, working in the idea really of like a direct mobilization of the body. And again, it's going to be something from the core, strong releases, and then find the middle of the 𝗏. You can mix these in a little bit. You could also do this. Let's do this with the 𝘭𝘪𝘫 and find the middle point of the 𝗏 this way as well. So you go forward. You could also do it backwards, going into the top of the 𝗏 this way. You want to kind of mix things up a little bit. Yeah. Yes, that's it. That's it. Nice. Okay. Good. And then just think about the setup for the second hand. So again, mix in these two, find the back, and then just think about really the setup for the backhand. So it's going to be in a position where it can start to take the strike. In terms of both power for this, the backhand is going to be the one that kind of generates the power. As we stick just with the 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘢𝘪𝘁, one of the problems is that the backhand here becomes the power, and then something like this, but it's not a very powerful movement. So if you think about the actual power of the strike, it's actually going to be in this hand, leveraging the 𝗏 forward. So this hand just kind of follows, uses the center, and uses it as a kind of pivot point for the body. So just play a little bit. You can mix in both sides. We're going to go a little bit. Find that position. The front hand's really the power for the strike, and then think about really a kind of, again, if you go to a kind of hook punch kind of style, kind of way of doing it, you can also just really lock the body as one piece like a hinge, and then just open the body this way. Obviously, later what we do is look for a little bit more flexibility in the hip work, and look for more of a spiral, but in a way that's built on a ability to kind of tie the body together, more in a kind of hinged joint system. That's it. Yeah, good. Oh. And it will mix it with the strike. So again, think about the backhand. You find the center line, the backhand here that reaches. This is the one that's going to apply the power to it. And this one's really just giving direction, a little bit of control to the weapon. But this hand that establishes at the backhand weapon, that's the one that's going to really connect into the strike. Mix in a little bit. If you want to do both sides, just change it into more of a 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘢𝘪𝘁. Slightly changes the form, and the left hand doesn't need to mobilize at all in that case. The right side, left side start, right side is more interesting in terms of changing the handwork. And especially later if you take that into 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘢𝘪𝘁, or if you're comfortable with it. So again, finding the midpoint, finding the backhand, finding the power from the ground. So, that's it, great. Very nice. Nice, great. Oh. great. And then just stick with those three basics. If you think about ski, 𝘭𝘫𝘢𝘵, 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫, or 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫, however you want to do it. And think about just mixing them in. So you've got the classic one, which is the 6 count, ski, 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫, 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫. But I think you've got more options as well. So you can start with the 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫, you can go into 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫, finish with the ski. You can just kind of mix up the order a little bit. The tricky one is to go from 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫 to 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫. That's the kind of trick one. Explore it a little bit, see what you can find. Might require a bit of hand change with it if you go into that. 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫𝘫, and you can work that. Great. And then if you think about the basic, again, they built into the basic this idea of a kind of releasing movement. So again, if you look at a really simple, like 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫𝘫, there's this kind of release back into the body, and then a strike through. And also 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫𝘫, release back, you strike through. So built into the movement this idea of like strong, release, strong. What I want to look at now is like transferring straight into the strike. So again, the simple one to work with is the 6 count. So if you think about 1, straight into the strike, 2, straight into the strike, 3. And you're taking what you're doing now is you're taking out those big moments, but you don't lose the release in terms of the quality of the movement. So with that here, strong, and then there's a release, strong, there's a release, strong into the strike. That's a simple one to work with, but play with the other kind of variations on as well. You can do quite a few variations with this. You also do 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫𝘫, straight into the ski. You can kind of play with this a little bit. But the key thing now is just take that really obvious transition out and just go from strike to strike to strike. Also keeping that kind of flexibility between it. And now this is really working in a more kind of 𝘰𝘪𝘊𝘵 style way of moving. Really. Yeah, we'll look at the 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫𝘫 one a little bit because we don't actually train it. The 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫 form we actually train, so we actually do it. If you think, apart from doing the 𝘭𝘪𝘫𝘫, if you think about in 13, we're used to kind of going straight into it. The 𝘭𝘭𝘫𝘫 we actually don't train it until it comes to partner work, and then the organization slightly changes with it. So think about now, because we usually train it this way, like pulling back and then going forward. Think that what you want to do now is basically strike here. This foot doesn't budge, and then you just roll the body into the strike. You can do this as 2 ways. You can do it as a block coming off the line, which is a little bit easier in terms of organization, or you can do it as a strike coming forward into this way. But the key thing is not to pull the body back at all. So if you think about as you land the ski, this foot stays in place, and then I just mobilize the body around that foot. It takes quite a lot of flexibility in the hip and the knee, especially in the knee, especially in the hip. But just play with it a little bit. The blocking one coming off the line gives you a little bit more tolerance. And because you're not going forward, it's a little bit easier to do. But think about now really generating a movement which is just, again, direct into the strike. Then you want the ability to thrust and get engaged straight away. But very tricky because we actually don't train it in a lot of the kata work. We don't do that. That's it. Nice, good. Oh. There we go. Good. Yeah, so the problem in this form is also like, it's a kind of an issue of timing. And watch this. The real tricky part of this is the ability to mobilize this hand to the end of the weapon, mobilize this one through, and then keep the front hand, or in this case, the front hand of the 𝘗, still being the power. What tends to happen with this, because I do it fast, is I don't reach the end of the 𝘗, and then this hand powers the movement. If I do that, I just create a kind of twist through the body, and it's very difficult to balance in the body. So do a few really slow, but think about really keeping that kind of pattern with the hand work. So the hand getting to the end of the 𝘗 is really a priority. This, and then this hand's just going to flow through, and then catch at the end of the motion. Same thing you do with the Genengaeshi. This hand's the priority, and then this hand's going to just flow down and be in the position where it can add a little bit of direction. But the key hand is actually this hand getting to the front and then using it to engage into the strike this way. Yeah, give it a try. But I don't want the rear hand to take over in this case. And again, it's just an issue of timing to get them in place before the body's kind of coming through. It's a dexterity issue in a sense. Yeah, good. Nice. Oh. Last week, we'll go back into the Hayagashi movement. This is easier just to start with the left foot, ski on the left, strike on the right. And think about really feeding into this. Sounds like a really true 𝘭𝘪𝘴 form. Think about the thrust in here and then straight into the strike. So it really doesn't have to be fast, you can do this very slow. But think about, again, the timing involved in this, straight into the Hayagashi. So really nice one to play with, especially if you're looking at kind of driving from the hips. And again, that kind of passage of the hands across the midline of the 𝘗. That change, finding the backhand. A really nice movement for the hip. So again, it's containing that kind of basic pattern. And strike, release, strike. And it's just done in a very kind of impulse way. Dunk, dunk. Nice. Good. Oh. And it's always these kind of 2 degrees in this form particularly. There's 2 ways I can lose it. I can overextend the body, and then the body gets pulled forward, or I can not really commit to the ski, in which case I do something like this, block it, and then there's nothing really to feed off. So there's this sweet spot where the strike's delivered, and then I can feed off it for the strike. But if I overextend with it, I pull out of the feet. If I underextend, I don't actually give anything to the movement. So think about the ski with this case. There's a kind of there's a sweet spot in the ski where it just connects into the center, and I can go and just play with it a little bit. Sometimes don't go into it, sometimes go into it. And just notice when balance is really the issue in this case, but it's also balancing like how much I commit to the ski. If I overcommit or if I undercommit, it's going to kind of make that second move a little bit trickier to find. I have to kind of force it, in which case I just want to beat off it. That's it. That's it. Nice. Very good. Nice. Good. Oh. 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 Hey. Oh.
Michael,
Sure.
what I notice in this movement here, if I want to feed up this ski movement, I'm literally putting all my weight on my basically the forward leg, and I need to transverse through my hip, through the whole action. So that means that I need to have a solid anchor point here.
To
actually move forward.
Yeah,
and that
totally
means
right.
that I need to build stamina and strength in my legs.
But it's like, if you think about this, there's position in the foundation training which I really like, which are these like where the legs here, and I'm basically practicing like hinging through.
Yeah.
And the first one, just that hinge through, and can the knee kind of not budge with it, and then can I also like add rotation into it, and then can I also like add rotation, reach out, and then basically put all the weight in that leg and kind of play with it that way. And then again, like you say, the moment the knee starts to go, the hip starts to kind of lock. Oh, you're really struggling, because then you're going into mobilization, and you're sticking through it. So, and there's like budge point. I either go through mobilizing the legs loose, or I go through mobilizing the legs stiff, and it transfers into the hip here. So it's this like sweet range where I can like you just go into it and then go into it that way. But yeah, really tricky. But that is the issue actually in terms of that. So
so you really need to have a flexible hip, with basically a rock solid foundation of which you're moving across.
Exactly, And if there's any like weak linking in terms of the ankle or whatever, the IT back, whatever's kind of not in place or not being recruited, then it's that. I think it's also nice to work with a little bit of tensioning as well. Where the foundation training is useful is like getting that what needs to tension really needs to come into tension. So it really needs to go. And then if more with the Aikido work, I'm just going to kind of release it a little bit. But I'm still recruiting it. I'm not really tight in it in that way. There's something like that. So
it should not be tight, but it should be strong. It should be encapsulated in the movement, basically, so that the structure supports the movement where you want to feed off. Because if you're weak in that moment, the feed off is not going to happen, because it will get lost in the structure, basically.
Or it gets like dispersed.
Yeah.
The other thing with that is also like really allowing the center to actually pass through the foot.
Yeah.
Like, then I can, again, it's like hip mobility thing. It's like, can the center actually find the foot and pass through it this way? Yeah. But most of us, what we do is we miss the foot and then go around it.
Yeah.
The hip feels too stiff, so I go around it this way.
Yes.
And I really want the hip to go like find the foot. But then the issue is the knee doesn't like it if it's weak. And it goes like, what? It rejects it. So then I go like, open the foot. So I create all these solutions around the problem, which basically the problem boils down to
a weak underbody. So
Yeah, right.
core, legs, knees, foot, ankle, and anything in between.
Yeah, which doesn't take much focus, especially if I go like I'm training weapon work.
Yeah.
All this takes the focus, and you forget about the lower body becomes dead, and you don't train it. Good luck. Yeah. So strong, really strong lower body. Actually. But it's the same like anything, like any martial or actually any sport. It's like strong engine in the lower body. But, okay, good. Okay, we're way over time. Okay, great, very good, very good, very good. We'll stop right there. Very good. It was fine. Oh, great. Domo arigato.
Domo arigato.
Great, very good.